Hey everyone, so you probably saw all of the teasers already for Bloxburg going free to play. And if you haven't, here are some examples of Hey Bloxburg. So they have announced it. It is coming on the 15th of June. There will be a trophy, a drivable couch, and a name tag for people who played in beta access. So these will not be accessible for people who are joining after the game goes free to play. Now anyways, in this video, we're gonna look at 6 things you need to do before the game becomes free. Number 1, and this is an obvious one, very general, that's why I put it at number 1. If you have, for some reason, 25 Robux sitting around and you don't have access to Welcome to Bloxburg yet, you're kind of waiting it out to see when it becomes free, whether you like the game or not, I would highly recommend paying that 25 Robux. It's a very small amount and you will get all of the rewards mentioned in the intro of this video, so the drivable couch, the beta trophy, and your own name tag for early access. If you don't join before the game goes free to play, you will never be able to have those items. You won't be able to purchase them yourself. So if you want one of these items, I would highly recommend paying that 25 Robux right now so you don't end up regretting it later. And you can flex on new players. Next up is a good fence. If you have a massive house, people might be coming to your door a little bit more asking for money. That might not happen at all. We'll see what happens. But I remember the early days of Welcome to Bloxburg when some players were playing a lot, other players were just new and trying to see what it was all about. They would go up to other players and ask for money quite a lot and then jump into your backyard if you didn't. So if you don't want that to happen, there are some ways that you can prevent that from happening. Firstly is a fence with basic shapes. You can place a hedge, you can place a fence, but players will always find a way to jump over them. So what I usually do is I put a fence, and then through that fence I put a hedge. If I want to make it taller, I usually put pillars inside there as well. And on top I make a roof. Now you can go all different types of styles, of course, but this is usually what I do. I'm still trying to learn new ways to make fences as well. I'm not usually the type of person who builds a big fence around my house, so this is also new to me. But one weakness with my fence that I make is that players can still kind of glitch through it if they do some effort. So what I do is I take a transparent basic shape, I drag it up to the height of the wall, and then I am completely isolated, which I like that. I like that idea. And then of course you can place cameras around just to watch players, I guess. Next up, trapdoors. Trapdoors seem to be forgotten a lot. If you do have the basement game pass, these will come in very handy if you want to trap new players on your plot who don't necessarily know that we have trapdoors in the game. So not only can you have your fence, but in front of that fence you can also make a small basement, and above that basement you can put some trapdoors. And of course you want to paint those trapdoors in the same color as your grass so they're not as obvious and players can just walk on them and fall through. However, one thing I would suggest is adding a ladder inside of your basement so they at least can get out. Like, you can troll them, but please let them out as well. But then if you put that in front of the fence that you just made another layer of protection for yourself where you can watch players fall into the traps that you put. And new players will definitely not know that there's traps in the game from the get-go. So this could end up being very funny. Another thing you can do if you want to lure players to another side of your plot so they don't look at your house but at something else is put a table full of money and expensive trophies and stuff like that. So if a new player wants to come in and check that out, you can put a basement around that table and put carpets on top of that basement so it looks like it's still grass, but players will just fall through the carpet. And maybe you could even use the trash update items to create a little room for them. I feel so evil making this video. Don't do all of these ideas, please. But you would think that if you place money on a table, that new players would think that they can just go ahead and grab that money. You can even put signs like free money here or something like that. And then they will fall in that trash room and they'll know how nice you are to new players. But yeah, I mean, have some fun. If you don't want the game to be free, live your dreams. And if you do want the game to be free, live your dreams as well, I guess. But it could be a fun way to make new friends as well. Like, oh, how did you make this trap? Well, this is how I did it with the carpets. They'll learn some new hacks as well. If you want to explain it, of course, unless you want to use it as a magic trick and act as if you have magic permissions in the game. Then next up is make high-level food and sell it. If your cooking level is pretty high, you can make some food that new players will not have access to, there will be a growing demand for that type of food. So maybe now is your chance to make a store or a cafe where they can buy that high level food, maybe a restaurant. For example, if you make a bunch of lobsters, if you make a bunch of turkey, I think you could sell it for pretty high prices. However, only sell it in the game. It's against the rules to sell it somewhere else or to sell it for a different currency. So only use it to kind of roleplay in the game and sell it in the game, please. And for in-game money, of course. And with that, something else you can sell for a pretty high price will probably be all of the holiday items. It's gonna be a while before we get to Halloween and Christmas and New Year's Eve. So if you have food from those holidays, I think you could sell them to new players for a pretty high amount, as they won't have access to it until the end of the year. And it could also be a way to make friends and explain the game to people, like why you have these holiday foods and that there's holiday events in the game. But yeah, go ahead, set up shop, make a lemonade stand and sell your New Year's cakes, I guess. And then lastly is if you want to make new friends or explain the game to new players, or just offer them a room to sleep in so they can see how you have built, how they could build something, make a spare bedroom and invite them into your house. I thought I'd end with something nicer than building traps and building carpets that lead to basements with trash rooms. So if you have a mansion and you want to show it to a new player, you're very proud of it, just make a spare bedroom for them. I'm sure that they will love it. It will probably help them get inspiration for their own house. And it's a way for you to meet new people who join the game. And potentially, if you're into role-playing, this is the start of a new family. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. These are 6 things that you can do before the game goes free to play. Let me know what you plan to do. And if you're excited for the 15th of June, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe.